You fucker. If my actual boyfriend was here, you'd never even attempt to pull this shit now. You fucking coward. She spat at the guy, furious. Who did he think he was telling her parents anything? Oh, but that's where you're wrong. I would have done it already. After he said that, he reached into his hoodie pocket, and she squinted her eyes at the object he presented. It wasn't until he took the object in his hand and held it up in the air in front of her, and she saw it outlined in the light as some kind of handgun. Her heart dropped at the sight of the firearm, and she went stiffly rigid. Now that I have your attention, here's what's going to happen. He spoke lowly, and she could hear the sick smile on his face. You're going to come back home with me, apologize to your parents, and go back to being the well-behaved, exceptional scholar you're supposed to be, and follow through with their plans from the start. What? What are you talking about? She carefully worded out, not wanting to give him reason to use his weapon against her. What plan? What plan? You actually don't know? Oh, that's fine. You've been under that bastard's thumb for so long. Of course you'd forget. He excused her question simply, then took a leisured step towards her. She shuffled backwards, still on edge with this guy, but he barely paid any mind to that. You, Brienne, are meant to be my future wife. It wasn't until he spoke those very words that a curtain opened up in her mind, and a memory played like a movie. She was at a family and friend gathering of some sort, at an age where she would be a preteen. She was still with her former friend at the time, but she had walked off away to who knew where, and she had found herself all alone. And a young boy around her age walked up to her with an older man and greeted her. She couldn't exactly remember what was said, but she knew it was kind of weird to her. And that was the point in time she realized just how weird that kid was. And her uncle came up beside her and put himself in conversation with the strange man. The boy's staring was beginning to get too intense, and she wanted to just leave that situation. Her uncle had decided to let her go, and she found her friend again. Later on, as she was fighting her father and uncle so they could go home, she walked in on their conversation and found out they were both talking about marrying her off to Jacob, the boy with the staring problem, and she had ran off alone and hid underneath the park table. Of course, her great childhood friend had followed her and stayed with her as she cried. She thought she was being betrayed by her parents and knew she was too young to be married off. A little while later, her uncle appeared and wanted to talk to her alone. Once her friend left, her uncle was sympathetic. He had told her that he wouldn't allow anything to happen to her with him around. He comforted her, and she began to trust his words and believe them. But now she was here in the present, basically facing down the barrel of a gun, her whole life and future being threatened by an obsessed bastard, and her own parents bent on marrying her off. He was gone. He once told her that the world would be a better place when he was deployed. But he had lied to her. It wasn't fair. Was she truly meant to be alone in this world? What did she do to deserve this? She flicked her dark eyes carefully up at the man in front of her. Well, if she couldn't avoid this, then she may as well make sure she keeps her future in her own hands, however little it may be.